So yeah, just put it on there. Keep it up as close as you can to your mouth. That way it gets a good volume read. I ended up having to scrap the other night's podcast because the lady, I'm not sure what happened, but
It was just muffled, right, or scratched.
well, I didn't hardly get any audio out of her her mic, and then I guess she turned it off at some point. And
Yeah.
I just didn't get. I got to get my soundboard together. But part of the thing is, like, I don't want to sit here with a soundboard and equipment and make the whole thing.
yeah.
Like, this is just supposed to be a way to record the thing that we did, so that way, like, guests can come back later when they're wanting to reminisce about their trip. And be like, you know what, I'm going to listen to that conversation. Or when they go home and they're trying to explain to their friends and family how their trip was, and they're like, just listen to the conversation, you know?
Yeah,
'Cause there's been, on my old boat there, that's a big one that's on its side over here. It's
Yeah, the lady
original.
told us about it when she was taking us over here, yeah.
Yeah, that, should I've probably, I can't even count how many amazing conversations were had on that boat that I can't remember, you know, and they're just gone. And I'm so disappointed. I didn't record, like, of the literal thousands and thousands of conversations, I didn't record one. So I'm trying to change that now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the cool thing about the internet and all this technology is like we could gather human intellect like on the simplest scale where before you had to have degrees or some kind of like royalty or whatever to be heard by the public.
Yep.
And now you could spread this message to billions of people of
Yep.
like just a simple person like just, you know, that has no background or whatever. And yeah, it's amazing that you don't have to shout in the town square anymore or any of that. You could just post it on the web and the whole world could hear it. Yeah.
But now there's so much. Like, how do you
Yeah.
know what to listen to? Oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
if anything, that's what's overwhelming for me. Because one of the hopes that I do have for putting all these conversations out for just the public to enjoy is that people will say, oh, well, I want to go do that. Like, I like that conversation. And it sounds so amazing to just be out there on the boat. And it'll be not necessarily marketing per se, but in effect, marketing, right? But how do you get your podcast in front of people? Like, that's tricky.
Yeah.
So I guess really what I'm relying on is the same thing that I had relied on with my tikis over here, which is the customers do the marketing for me. Like, you know, they share with their friends, and their friends are like, oh, that's cool. And then their friends' friends share it. And eventually, one person grabs a hold of it who is an influencer,
Yeah.
and
And it goes viral.
off to the moon,
Hopefully.
and that's it.
Those
But
are
I'm also-
your tiki houses?
Yeah, that's
cool.
that's the business that actually pays for the bills here. This thing, right now, this basically operates as a charity. I literally make no money on this right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's actually editor for, it's a pretty prominent guy on YouTube. His name is Far Out with Faust. He's a conspiracy theorist. I'll shoot him your podcast. Like,
Well, I'm embarrassed too because, like just now when I finished up and I cranked out the last bit. Well, I mean, number one, I lost the whole night's audio because it was just shot. I tried to go back through and salvage it, but you know, like I'm putting these each one of these mics are recording their own tracks, so I got to clap them together and sync them up and put them on.
Yeah.
But the recording times on them, they start to stretch out as the time goes on. So every 20, 30 minutes, I got to split them and then realign them because they'll start to echo. And then like I'm not good at knowing how much filter or compression or any of this. Like I'm not an audio engineer, and I'm not trying to be an audio engineer. I got too much shit going on to learn a new skill set right now like that. So my audio's terrible. The video is absolutely not even there right now, which is disappointing because that's part of the cool experience. It was the fire, it's the ambiance, and the experience.
But, you could put up like a camera even with a phone because I have the same thing, and it just plugs into the phone and then boom, reads it and records it and splices it together like instantly.
So that's what I did. I went and got USB hubs so that I could do that, but I think I'm still going to run into that latency issue with the mics because if I have too many, one set can do it, because you 2-on-1 receiver. But like the other night, well, the first night rather, we had 9 people trying to participate. So two girls shared one mic, and the rest of us all had a mic. It was just chaos. But great conversation. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
We all even sat right back here because the weather was shitty. But you're right with the phones. Like I went and got a 360 camera because I wanted to be able to set the camera up as a person and then do like Oculus viewing, and then you're virtually as part of the conversation. You know, I thought that was so cool.
I see. I had the X3, right? I think that's I also have that camera. Yeah.
And
the only thing though with the cam, like if you're gonna film in 360, I noticed the quality gets way lower. You know, as if you go single lens mode, like you get much better, especially like lighter, darker
I could do it, but it's gonna be like 600 gigs for a video.
Yeah,
it's so big.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
But the problem isn't even that. The problem is the camera will only run for about 45 minutes and then it shuts off.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a conversation with anybody that lasted less than an hour and a half. You know, normally they're like, well, the longest one so far we've had was almost 5 hours. So that's not going to work, and certainly not for that size, because it's like 100 megabytes a minute that it's consuming. It's crazy.
Yeah. Tremendous.
So I think I'm just going to go ahead and get regular cell phones. They have perfect cameras. You can plug them in.
That's it. Yeah.
Fine. It's fine. It doesn't need to be high quality. It just needs to be some quality.
If you plug in the receiver, it could capture multiple of these guys, right? I only did it with 2 one time with me and a friend.
Yeah, you can only do 2 at one time per receiver.
With the receiver.
But I was thinking I haven't tried it yet, but I want to plug all 4 receivers into a USB hub and then record it all on OSB Studio.
That might work.
But, you know, I do know that there are issues with USB mics because they're digital, they're not analog. And that whatever that time signature thing inside it, they just don't quite sync up. But I did buy a whole soundboard, you know. It's just, if I can ideally get an audio person to just deal with that, just put them off in the background and do the thing. Or if I can at least maybe get some earbuds, so it's not like this big, you know, like the whole setup. You know. These do have the audio outs on them, so, and that's what I do like about this. I went with the lav mics instead of the regular shotgun mic style. And all of that, because I don't want all that equipment in the way. Yeah. This isn't that type of a deal.
That's what I'm trying to do too. Like on my journey, it's like I want to have a simple setup. Like I'm going really far, so I don't want to carry a lot of equipment. So my phone does a good enough job of like filming nature and all that stuff I want to do. And you know, I got like this headset that's it's like a bone conducting, which I really love. Like, you know, they go over your ears. So they actually conduct in your bones.
That's cool.
So like I hear nature and stuff, or cars or whatever, but I hear music still, you know, not like at the loudest volume. And then it has like a mic that comes down. So it has decent enough audio quality, you know, and the whole thing is like waterproof. Whatever.
What brand is that?
This is called Shocks.
Shocks.
And they make the best, honestly, for like bone conduction. This technology just existed in military and stuff like that before, so they could like hear better. And then they have mics here, like so. Then like you could speak real low and you could still hear the person.
Yeah.
But it's starting to come into like the public with like these kind of headsets, and
that's cool.
They even have, I want to try it on, but not this company, but there's a company that made a vest, and it has speakers that go into your body. And like everybody that's tried it on goes like, whoa, what the hell? Because it's like you hear music through your like your body, you know, like not through your ears. It's an interesting experience, you know. Like,
wow.
And I was wondering if you could do that and put like kind of, you know, certain frequencies that are healing to organs, like yoga kind of like sounds, and there's a whole bunch of different frequencies. I wonder if you could do that and like conduct it into your body and fix like certain issues. You know, but
that's an interesting thought there. I didn't consider that.
Yeah. Man, it is so beautiful and quiet out here. I love this. Like,
that's a pretty neat sunset. I didn't expect to see it like that. We lit up the bottom of the clouds and everything.
Yeah,
like
bright
cotton
red.
candy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just came from New York, so it's like this is opposite. You know, it's warm, it's peaceful, quiet. It's like. Yeah, like I have to deal with a lot of stuff in New York City, so like, I want to get out of there. We're moving to Florida. Me and my wife moving to Tampa Bay area. Like once I'm done with this trail and stuff, probably September or August or so. Yeah, I really like Tampa. I've been wanting to move to Florida for a while.
Yeah. Excuse me. There's a crazy amount of people have moved down here since the whole COVID stuff started. Obviously for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But I've always wondered it myself, like, why are people living in places that suck? Like, they don't have to. Like, in this day and age, you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not like you had to sell the farm and then go find another farm and then get the wagon and drag all your shit. Like, moving is so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
People just don't do it.
Yeah.
But
It's familiar though, it's familiar places and all that. A lot of people
it's
get
a sense
used
of
to
security.
it. Yeah,
Sure.
you
And then
feel
your family is
secure.
there. And
Yeah.
to breach that gate of the unknown to go and
Yeah.
do a weird thing like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought myself to be, and I still don't think myself to be a brave person to be able to just throw everything down and take off. But in relation to a lot of people's comfort zones, that's like impossible idea to do, to leave everything you know. Like, I have to leave everything I know, otherwise I'll go crazy. That's a cycle.
Yeah.
Like, every few years, I got to get the hell out and go do something different.
Yeah.
But
That's like a major issue though. I think a lot of human beings, they get comfortable and then they get complacent and then evolution just stops. You're just rerunning the day over and over, Groundhog Day, same punching in the clock in an office, whatever. And then you're not really, like, I think we're here to evolve our karma, like our energy, to get it to a frequency level that maybe we could go to the next dimension or something, like next level of like
continuous
difficult
growth
world.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah. And traveling really does that for me. I've learned so much stuff out there. Like, I learned a lot in New York too growing up.
Yeah.
But the world is so massive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's the thing.
People don't realize that too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the continuous new stuff.
Yeah.
You're right. That's exactly what it is. Because after a while, I get bored because there's no new input. It's all the same stuff. I've seen it all, and I've got to go somewhere. And that's why I like the new foods, the new cultures, the new way of thinking, the way the land looks. Everything it's new, and it feels good to learn. In that way.
Yeah.
But I guess for a lot of people, also, they don't want to. That's scary. It's an intimidating prospect.
It is. Yeah.
So what brings you guys to Key West? Oh, I always forget to ask everybody's name. I'm like, I know what your names are.
Yeah, right.
Nobody else knows what your names are. So speak your names.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Minar. I missed Key West last time I was in Florida, so I was like, I better go do it right now before I finish PA school and get a job. But even then, I'll still travel a lot.
Is this holiday for you?
Every day is a holiday for me, but this one in particular, yes.
Yeah, right on,
Yeah.
right on. You're in what part of PA?
No, I'm in PA school, like physician assistant, so I just finished that up.
Oh,
yeah.
But I'm from LA.
LA. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. So you decided of all the places you could go, Key West was the one
Yeah.
for the weather,
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure.
for the time of year, right?
Yeah.
Because you couldn't go anywhere, but yeah, that makes sense.
For the winter, it's nice down here. Yeah, you got, like, the winter's really nice here. It's like 70s all day or so. It
Yeah.
doesn't get too cold, right?
It doesn't get too cool. I mean, there's they joke, they call it like the 3 weeks of winter, or the 3 days of winter. I don't remember what it is. It's some ridiculously short amount of time
Yeah.
where it gets to like the mid 50s, and that's as cold as it gets.
Oh my gosh.
But man, it is fucking cold because it's like 110% humidity and the wind is blowing and it's just cold. It cuts right through.
I was in Baltimore for a rotation. I think that was the high.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Mid 50 was the high.
Yeah,
But that place is gnarly.
yeah.
It was gnarly. I've never been to an abandoned house before. First time I went to an abandoned house there.
In Baltimore? Was it just like a random abandoned house, or was it?
Well, I have a friend who's a user, and she uses over there. I'm like surprised at like the squalid conditions they live in, but then it's kind of like they gotta feed the monkey, so they have no choice to do it. But people really be living that life out there. I'm like, is this America really?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah. And how about you? What brings you to Key West?
Name's Alex. Traveling right now, doing a really long hike from Key West to Canada. So this is my first day starting it. in the most southern point.
Oh, okay. I missed
Yeah.
that. I didn't realize you were starting in Canada.
Yeah.
Or starting in Key West.
Starting Cuba, yeah. Yeah, because it kind of, as I move up, it's going to get warmer, and I got to
That
beat
makes
the
sense.
winter of Canada.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm basically going to finish by Quebec City, like somewhere like 200 miles north of there. Because anything beyond that is like crazy, wild, like
Yeah.
Labrador and all that. It's,
Yeah.
It's like polar bear country.
Right.
You don't
Yeah.
want to
There's
hike
no
up there.
roads.
Yeah. So yeah, I got to hike from here and then all through Florida, then Alabama, and then it connects to the Appalachian Trail, and then the whole Appalachian Trail, and then connects to a trail that goes to Canada. So it's like
That's so awesome.
5,000 miles or so. Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
say
so-
you think that'll be September or so by the time you get that wrapped up?
Yeah, I'm hoping to be done August, September. I mean, there's guys that have done it in 6 months, 6, 7 months. Like, it depends how fast you move. Like, I could do
Right.
20, 30 miles a day. Like, I'm okay doing that. Not in the beginning, you build up to that because
Sure.
you could fatigue your body too fast. But yeah, I did parts of the Appalachian Trail last year, and because of family circumstance, I just couldn't complete it. I kept jumping off of it. So I'm like, I don't want to redo it. So, all right, if I'm gonna redo it, I'm just gonna go even harder,
Yeah.
with this whole this huge
Yeah.
section of it. And there's only maybe like 18 or 17 people that have actually completed this whole thing.
Wow.
So that feels kind of. I mean, like thousands have completed Appalachian Trail, and like, I like that. I'm part of like a select few that have
Right.
actually could do that.
Wow.
And like last year, I ran into these people when I was hiking. When I just kind of started, these guys passed me. It was 2 guys and a girl, and I turn around and I see their equipment. I know this stuff already. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's ultralight stuff. These are pros. There's no way that they hiked the whole AT, And then the next day, they kind of started hiking with me because I started and I saw them. And they told me about this trail. They taught me some of the gear and stuff like that. Well, one of them did. I was hiking with him for a little bit. So, and it's fun. It's interesting when you meet somebody that does something extraordinary, right? But they show you they're human and it's possible. Look, this is how you do it. And then you start questioning maybe I can do it,
Right.
But and I love that about the internet too. We've been able to spread evolution and consciousness so quickly,
Yes.
showing videos of what guys can do
Yes.
or people do out there. It's wow.
Yeah.
Humans are challenging themselves, I think, even more now.
Absolutely, yeah. Because
Yeah.
we've seen it can be done. 'Cause
Yeah.
when you're in that unknown, that's a really limiting factor
Yeah.
for your psyche. But then
Yeah.
as soon as you see somebody did it, I think about that with high-speed chases.
Mhm.
The car in front, as long as the car in front made the maneuver successfully, the car in the back should be able to also. But
Yeah.
the one in the front, he's like, I don't
Yeah.
know if I can pull this off or not.
Right, yeah. But there's got to be that pioneer, yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
So when you go do your trek, you're going to do it nonstop. Will you take any?
Pretty much. I mean, sometimes they call it 0 day, when you're not hiking, because you got to just recover sometimes, if you don't want to fatigue yourself too much. Last year I started and I went really hard in the beginning, and I started in Georgia. Here it's easier because it's flat, so I could put in more mileage, and I'm not going to but there it's just you start and it's up and down, up and down. Georgia's really intense actually. And after 4 days, I had severe tendonitis, shin splint pain. And that just got worse and worse, and then I had to take off 3 days, and I was and then it eventually kind of went away, but everybody was warning me about that, and I still did it. And kind of was oh, I feel fine, and then you wake up and you're not fine. You're holy shit, the body is just. But yeah, no, I take some time off, but I want to make good timing, and just keep moving north, and just see how fast I could get through this whole thing. And the Everglades section is really interesting to me because that's a jungle section, So it's intimidating. I saw videos of what it looks like as people hike up to their knee in water,
Wow.
and there's gators and,
yeah.
and water moccasins and all that stuff there, and it's interesting,
Yeah, man. I pulled up one time. I
Yeah.
was coming across Alligator Alley right there,
Uh-huh.
and I just pulled off into one of those little rest stop areas they've got off the side of the road so I can make a phone call. And I'm on the phone, and I look out my window, and there's this 12-foot alligator just
Yo.
He just like bench presses himself up and just slumbers off into this. Like he was just hanging out. Right? I didn't even see him there. He was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So to have somebody just walking through that stuff,
Yeah.
God damn, dude, that's pretty serious stuff.
Yeah, and that's part of my challenge of like fear. You know, is just I've challenged myself because I grew up like like my family's nice. I had a loving mother and father that are educated and they never curse. We always had nice food in the fridge, that kind of, and they have a lot of love for me. So I was super lucky on that end. But as soon as we moved to New York, like I was born in Kiev, Ukraine, and then we ran away because of Chernobyl and all that crazy
yeah.
shit. Yeah, I was 1 year old when that happened. That was really close. And then we came back, and then communism fell apart, and the city just went to hell, you know, and we got out into America.
Wow.
But I didn't know that the world there was like this darkness in the world, you know. And then I went to high school, Sheepshead Bay High School in New York, which was considered like second worst in New York City because of my zone. I had to go there, and it was just like 95 or 96% black. And I'm like this skinny white boy, you know, with like a very small minority, you know. So like when people say like, oh, there's no way you could have experienced, no, like, I experienced racism. Like I was stabbed, I was beaten half to death just for being white, you know.
Damn.
Like it was the opposite, you know. Of the anybody could experience it as long as you're the minority.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
You could
That's the
experience
thing.
it.
Yeah.
But that like made me really question why are people the way they are? Like why are they so angry? What's going on? And then I started hanging out with friends. I started smoking pot and like all that, and that kind of was like the key to the, you know, into like ghettos and certain areas. And I started befriending people, and I seen how people live, and I'm like, holy shit, this is like way different. Like there's no food in the fridge, and the parents don't care. They're just like whatever. They're smoking cigarettes all day or something like that, and it's just like it's chaos in the house. You know? And the kid is just grows up with anger, and he's trying to take out that anger on somebody or something that he could find. And you know, that's why I don't blame people at all. Like if they're hurting me, I understand that there's something in your past that happened that you're taking it out on the world. You're trying to get that energy back somehow. You know, like abusers usually become abusers.
Right.
Yeah. So. But you know, I started challenging and traveling the world and seeing. Like I went to the military. And I went like all over India, and I seen like, especially when you go to like India and you see like I mean, I see ghettos in New York, not even close to what you see in India in the slums. Like, wow, it was, you know, and India is interesting because it's like super wealthy and super poor.
Yep.
There's a very low middle class. It's insane. Like the person I went, because there was like a yoga teacher and that I started going to his class. I was like just mentally kind of destroyed, and yoga really helped me. And I just went to India because he was doing a teacher training course, and then I experienced like his cousin's super wealthy in Delhi, and showed me like the super wealthy. And then I went through like certain neighborhoods, and I'm like, whoa, holy stuff! Like this is serious, you know. I see kids like sleeping with a pig for warmth, like hugging a pig to stay warm at night on the street, you know. Yeah, it's intense, and it gives you perspective. And I think it humbles us too. Like it makes me appreciate so much what I have. Like people live in America, they don't know how good they have it. Really, like the world is a pretty dirty place, and so like, wow, there's a lot of dangerous.
That's like kind of my joke. Like, if you really want like a Lexapro pill or like something like that for antidepressant, go visit like. There's like levels to like developing countries, but like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, they're like good
like
examples.
Third world
Like
country or something.
go visit slums there. See how good you have it. See how they're living.
Mm-hmm.
See the infectious disease we don't even see anymore. You'll see it over there.
Yeah. Or how hard it is to work out there. Like damn,
Like
their
for example,
workforce is crazy.
during
out there.
COVID, like they stopped children going to school because the parents can't go to work because of restrictions, so they send the kids to school. So the kids losing all their education. And then in Bangladesh, this is a big thing that you have to start work at an early age, that if you miss those years of missed education, you can't even make the workforce successfully. So you're going to be poor your entire life. You'll be unemployed your entire life unless you do like little itty-bitty things like work in the scrap mill, stuff like that.
Yeah.
People don't realize how easy they have it here. Like even if you take 10 years off, you can do anything you want still. Well, theoretically speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I went through a pretty depressed time in my life, and Like, I'm not the type to consider suicide, but like, that was creeping into my head at that point in my life. And something clicked, and I realized, dude, there are at least 1 billion people today on this planet that would love to have my life on the worst fucking day.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and I need to pull my shit together because I'm so lucky to have the life I live.
I heard like Jordan Peterson remark about something like that. Like he's saying there's someone in Indonesia right now wearing a mask over their mouth. They're going up a mountain, going down a mountain every single day. They're risking all these type of diseases, pulmonary diseases, and they would trade in, like you said, one of their best days for our worst days.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
One of theirs, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good perspective.
Yeah.
And that's what I do want to do. I want to travel. I want to subject myself to, hopefully not the diseases necessarily, but you know, at least the experience
Yeah.
to see what's going on for that perspective. Because I know I get complacent. I know that I get, what is that word? Spoiled. I get
Yeah.
spoiled by this life that I live. You know, it was actually one of the, in a small way, contribution to the first world country. Sleeping on my old boat was just out on the ground, out on the, like, here we have spaces inside to go, everything is comfortable, dry. That boat just had the front deck, like the front deck is here, was both front and back there, so it was just exposed all the time, and you just grabbed a pad and slept out. And if it rained, you got rained on. And it humbled people continuously. And it was good for them. You could tell. Because I remember this one time, there was this lady and her kids, 2 kids, probably mid-teens, I would say. And they got not just rained on, but it stormed. I mean, there was like a little water spout that came through the anchorage. It was rough. And they barely did any sleeping whatsoever. I felt so bad for them. I got them back to shore and I apologized for the night. And she said, you know, Ryan, it was pretty rough sleeping, but you know what it did do? It made me appreciate wherever it's going to be that I sleep tonight. Because it's going to be a nice bed. It's going to have a shower. That's all I need.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you need.
Yeah.
That's what you need, that
Yeah.
contrast of suffrage to be able to appreciate anything.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. Yeah, like I really, when I'm out there sleeping, like, you know, it's, yeah, I had some fun nights on the Appalachian Trail where a bear was like sniffing right next to my, you know, my setup. And I don't even sleep in like a big tent, you know, I'm kind of in this little bivvy with a tarp type of setup. So it's pretty open, you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and sometimes I sleep just cowboy, you know, just open, like, and it's never like a full sleep because like you're at home, you feel safe and your mind can completely fall asleep. Out there, you're waking up like every 2 hours or something like that. A little noise, you're like, what's that? You know, it's just, and then it starts raining, yeah, like you're saying, or wind, and then your tarp is like flipping, and you're like hoping this tarp holds up and it doesn't rip, and you just don't get drenched and all that, and like, you know, and then you're cold, and you stink too. Like you can't just shower easily, you know. But yeah, but then I appreciate. Like I come home and I'm just wow, like. My wife cooks the most amazing, like, organic meals, too. Like, she puts together, like, highly nutritious food, like, really nice recipes, comfortable bed, put on Netflix, you know, it's temperature controlled, it's all that, like, love, and it's just like, wow. And I'm out here the first day, and I'm having, like, a bit of a, you know, separation anxiety, because we've been doing really well for, like, 2 months, and we're, like, super close, and she's just like, just go already and come back. I can't, like, you gotta, like, already do it. Like, because she knows, like, if I don't do this, I'm gonna get antsy and I'm gonna get kind of, like, aggressive. And this to me is sort of like my new passion, I guess. You know, I love this, like, hiking and challenging myself in different terrains with, like, different conditions and all that. And mostly doing it alone. Like, I love being in my head and just thinking as I'm walking. I have so much time to think and process my life and what I want to do next and what I've done in the past, and you know, yeah.
Well, that's good that you got somebody to support your dreams. You know, that's a hallmark of a good relationship.
It is, yeah. I mean, I'm hoping to, like, connect it somehow eventually. you know, if I could start making money off of YouTube and stuff like that, like it's growing well, and then I stopped and the subscribers stopped, but it grew really fast. So there is just something there. So I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, that's why I want to do this and put in a lot of like videos and content every day, see where it goes. If it doesn't, you know, after this whole trail, if it doesn't really go nowhere, then I'll look where the universe wants to put me next. But like,
Sure.
but
That's
I
all
don't-
you can do, really. Give it a
Yeah.
shot. See how far you can go.
Yeah. I mean, the worst is like wondering what if, like, you know, that
Absolutely.
that
Yeah. If
end
you
of
never
your
try,
life. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it. I know it.
I've spoken to a lot of old people, and they have so many regrets of like, I should have done this, and I should have done this thing, you know, and I should have taken this challenge or moved to this place when I had this,
Mhm.
and then you're too old to do it.
Yep.
And you know, it's like it's in the past, and you're kind of
Yep.
like regretting certain aspects of your life. You know.
Yeah, when I first came down here, I stayed in Marathon because Marathon has a good boating community there, and I didn't know anything about living on a boat. Like I knew how to operate a boat, but nothing about the lifestyle.
Mhm.
So I set up shop there because there's a lot of older people. It's sort of like a retirement community. It's just a nice, peaceful, comfortable area, and the people were very willing to share their knowledge. And one day I was in at the marina office getting my mail, and the guy stopped me and he's like, you know, I really enjoy seeing young people like you picking up this lifestyle because it's so great. I wish I would have done it when I was your age, but instead I worked and I worked and I worked, and then I retired, and now I have all these health issues and I can't climb my mast. I can go sailing maybe once or twice a month, and even then I'm like, my back hurts.
Yeah.
He's like, you're doing it right. Get out there and live life while you're young, and you have the body that you can live it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I was already on that path, but it was nice, like you say, to get that encouragement from people to
Mhm.
continue to pursue those things while you can. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
shit, we don't even know if we're going to live to our old age.
Yeah.
You know, that could be the worst of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty grateful for the life I've lived. And really, I guess happiness is a state of mind. It's not
It
any
is.
achievement per se
Yeah.
that you've done. And I choose to be happy. I choose to look at the life that I've lived so far and not focus on the bad and the bullshit and all that, and instead look at what I have achieved and done
Mhm.
and am grateful for. And I am. And if I die tomorrow,
Yeah.
I lived a full life, and I'm glad for it. So like right now, I feel like this is just extra time. Like
Yeah.
it's fun stuff I get to go hang out and do.
Yeah.
So no, I just gotta get this goddamn boat wrapped up so I can get it off of my mind. Because if I go and try to do stuff while there's still is left to do, I'm gonna feel guilty, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
weighing in on me.
Yeah.
And that was very uplifting and positive. Like I feel there are many people that just needed to hear that even.
Right.
Yeah. Like they
That's
probably
true.
couldn't articulate that into their mind, and you
Mhm.
helped them kind of put those together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that you're even changing lives in that course.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's the thing. You don't know. You don't know where you're going to hear any of this stuff.
Exactly.
You know, just all of a sudden, a good nugget of truth hits
Yeah.
at just the right time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bam! It's
Yep.
transformative
Really.
Yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
And that's what this listing is really all about. Because I mean, I'm telling you, like, it invites the most amazing characters,
Mhm.
and that's the success of it. You know, you've got to be a pretty interesting type of person to be willing to subject yourself to spending time with people you've never met before. You know, in
Yeah.
this hostile environment. Oh,
Yeah.
no, those are the right words. It just sounds weird.
It is a hostel, yeah.
It's a hostile.
Yeah.
But and again, this is less of a difficult situation on this particular boat. That one was
Mhm.
to be able to go out and sleep outside in the rain is
Yeah.
an extra level of uniqueness. But so far so good here. I mean, I've enjoyed all the people that have come on board, and
Nice.
we'll hopefully continue to carry on the legacy
Yeah.
for all this stuff. And then I'm trying to figure out how to bring this from the boat onto land. I was actually just thinking about this today. Again, I think about it all the time, but today I felt like I made a little bit of headway when I was listening to the audio file as I exported it from the other night's conversation.
Mhm.
And I think it's in a piece of what I'm anxious to achieve is what I what I identified back when I lived in Pittsburgh before I came down here and to do any of this stuff, which I didn't intend to do any of the stuff that I'm doing right now. It just happened. It evolved into this. But when I was in Pittsburgh, I was renting out the spare bedroom in my apartment. There was one time I had a group of people, they wanted to leave their luggage in the little foyer there so they could walk around town and stuff. I'm like, all right, well, that's cool, but I got other guests coming, so, I guess it's still my place, and I guess if I'm not at my, I can do what I want, but I just want you to know there's going to be other guests there when you come get your bags. So I get back from doing whatever it was that I was doing, and I go upstairs, and they have all the lights and stuff on the balcony, and they got the barbecue going, and they're there with the other guests, and they're just hanging out, like just didn't even know each other. Just all of a sudden, this spontaneous community erupted on my back deck, and I was amazed by that. I was like, that's so cool. Like, I hung out with them, we had a great time for hours. We just sat there and talked about stuff. I'm like, how can we have more of this?
Yeah.
What do we do? How do we facilitate this? And I, again, inadvertently did that with my boat here. But the boat is interesting. Key West is a tourist place. I mean, it lends itself to this experience. But how can we do this in every city across the United States? Or maybe the world? Like, how can we do that? Because what we have right now for social situations are bars. And that's pretty much it. Like, you go to work and meet people. You go to school and meet people. You meet the people you already know. Or you go to a bar. Like, that's pretty much it. You can't go to a grocery store and strike up a conversation with somebody. You can't go to the gym. People don't want to hear it. They got shit to do. So I think there is something with this. And maybe this is somewhat the evolution of the podcast moving forward, is that if it were to develop a following and people are like, oh, I want to go to Key West to do this conversation. I mean, like, at some point, the conversation is the priority, and then the experience of the boat and everything else is lesser, right? But if they had the same... If they knew that there was a place in town that they could go and just do this, just a hangout. It's basically, I mean, obviously you're gonna have to pay some sort of an admission to keep the thing moving, but there's something there. I feel like I'm getting a little bit closer on resolving an idea. Because, I mean, for Christ's sake, if you could do an escape room and people were paid to go to an escape room, I don't understand why this wouldn't work. Like some capacity, and maybe it turns into, because one of the things I wanted to do in Pittsburgh was there was this there's like a warehouse building that was just in the good spot of town, and they weren't using it for anything. It was just a rundown place. I was like, man, that would be so cool to get in there and just make it all real cool and artist, like, just not fancy at all, but just cool. So to do that, to invite the artistry community, because they're willing to donate time and talent, and they create such amazing stuff. And people will come for that. It's the atmosphere as well as the community. There's something there. I don't know just how to get there.
Yeah, humans are very social creatures by nature, so they want to socialize, but we get nervous. Like, we don't know if that person is threatening, or especially like a woman doesn't know if that guy wants to, like, whatever. Like, women are very alert most of the time.
They have to be.
Men are a little more open, but then even that, like, you don't know, like, especially depends where you grew up. Like, in New York, it's pretty hostile kind of place. Like, you don't just talk to somebody or say hello. They'll think you're weird, or they get aggressive with you, even though you're trying to be polite. And it's fun. Like, I bought a house in Pennsylvania. And it's like it's country already, basically. It's not even suburbs. It's the houses are spaced out, so it's like an open gate community. Everybody in there says hello. I got to know, like, the whole community within, like, I don't know, a year, And it's just a complete different, like, world. And people are relaxed and they're open, but I just noticed, like, when it gets too much people, it gets hostile. Like I noticed that in India too, or any city that's big. People get very pushy. You feel like there's not enough room, so you got to get to the head of the line, and you got to shove your way through. And I think humans, once we started creating these major cities, like Babylon and whatever, and Cairo and Rome, and that's when it really started getting violent, and people started getting aggressive and hedonistic, and just.
Well, that's the thing too. I noticed is in a small community. It's the odds game. The odds of you running into a serial killer when you
Yeah.
have a small town are very low.
Beat me to it.
But you have 100 times that population. Well, you have 100 times better
Yeah.
odds of running into a serial killer. Like it's just, and it's
Yeah.
your footprint, your immediate footprint, right?
Yeah.
Now, there is definitely something to be said about that, but also just on normal, everyday to day behavior, when the people around you are just, they've given up on pleasantries and they're just going to be jerks, then you're like, well, I guess if they're going to do it, then there's no sense that I do it because it's
Yeah.
just wasted, right? And so it's just this de-evolution of social standards in a community.
Yeah.
And I was sort of having this conversation with the guests the other night, maybe it was last night even, of how to prevent those things, you know. And unfortunately, I mean, the only solution I can see once it gets so far down the road is violence. Like you need a violent leader
Yes.
to come
Yeah.
down and like a Genghis Khan type.
Eventually.
Or like
yeah.
well, he's not a violent leader, but the person in charge of El Salvador, the president, El Salvador had the second highest crime and murder rate in the world for the last 15, 20, 25 years. And since his presidency, the last 2 years, it's the safest place this side of the hemisphere, in the Western Hemisphere. Safer than America, it's safer
Wow.
than Canada.
Wow.
What do
'Cause,
they credit that to?
Mass imprisonment. You got gang tattoos on your face, there's no question being asked. Like, you don't even get a trial. You're going to jail right away.
Wow.
Like, it's a bit, you know, kind of draconian, but in a way, it's really knocked down their crime rate. And also, like, in a way, they're also a little bit densely populated, but it's also the culture of people and their mindset, in my opinion. Because, for example, in like LA, New York, it's just like you're going to be encountering people like every single day, like you said. So, like, your chance of like running into crime is much higher than,
yeah.
say, being in Youngstown, Ohio.
Right.
But say, like, what this leader implemented was the rule of law and a culture change. And they have densely populated areas too. So you know that the government's watching, and you know that, for them at least, God is watching. So you have your act together. So I don't know if it's
Right.
really like, which one is it really? Is it the nature or the nurture? It's always that question, right?
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
always such an interesting one.
Yeah.
Like to
Yeah.
know where to draw that line of
Yeah.
demarcation is hard. But yeah, I mean, I hope the U.S. is not going to get to that point. I like my
Yeah.
freedom. Like I like living in a normal country.
You're very
Yeah.
right.
But at the same time, it's just like I can't say that we're getting better. I don't really see improvement per se. I see things
Yeah.
getting worse.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever seen marked improvement was 9/11. That was the time. You must have been
Oh,
old enough for that,
I
right?
watched him kind of, well, the burning of it from my rooftop. Yeah.
Oh shit, that's right. You were
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, they let it, they told us like school was out all of a sudden. I was in high school. And they said like, oh, okay, you can go home, ask your parents, whatever. So I go home and I'm like, the hell's going on? I turn on the news, it was on every channel.
Oh yeah, every channel.
I'm like, holy shit, I could see that from my roof. Because like I'm in Brooklyn, but I could see all the way to Manhattan easily. And there was like a huge cloud just coming, raining paper on my roof actually from that. Like it was raining all the way to like Coney Island and stuff, like papers and stuff. And that was a crazy day. I couldn't believe that. Yeah.
Were you there for that? I mean, alive?
Yeah, I was alive. I was
Yeah.
in 4th grade. I was watching on the news in the morning. It's like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We watched it in, I don't remember what class, like there's when they had the TVs on the carts and then pushed them
Oh,
in
yeah.
the classroom. And like somehow we had one channel. Like we weren't supposed to have any TV anywhere, but we got the one channel and we flipped it on right as the second tower was falling. And it was amazing to see the change in society on 9/12. Like everybody was different. They all got their shit together. They were helpful. They were kind and courteous, and
Yeah.
that lasted for I don't remember how long. At least a couple months, I would say. You know.
Yeah. But it definitely changed New York because I know
Mm.
before that, New York had a much higher crime rate. And that, like, just, I don't know, I think maybe a lot of agencies got involved and also a lot of people, like, rebuilding process and all that and the trauma of it. And New York has become way safer than it was. And,
Yeah.
and I'm just lucky I didn't grow up in, like, 80s or 70s
Oh
New
my
York.
God.
'Cause,
Yeah.
man, I see the footage of Times Square back then. Holy, wow, like, damn. It's complete opposite today. Like, yeah. It was a pretty nasty place back then.
So I guess that's true. I mean, I guess there are improvements.
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
not necessarily easy to see.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. You know, it's like looking at one of those. You ever see those? What are they like? I can't remember how many gigapixel images. It's just so enormous, and you like zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and zoom in. Like it just keeps going and going and going.
Mhm.
That's really the state of the world. You know, for any one individual to say, "This is the state of all things in the world," is asinine. Like that's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can't say that. And so it's not fair for me to say, I don't see the world getting better. I see one tiny, tiny little sliver of this pixel, of this enormous picture.
You know, I studied a lot of human history. Like, I'm obsessed with history
Yeah.
and antiquity and all that, and just going because I want to understand human. Like, what are we going to do next? You could see that by learning history. You could
Absolutely.
understand the patterns. And it seems like it's not just human history, but just the whole universe. It follows a pattern of like light and darkness, and I guess the Chinese had the best explanation of the yin and yang.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, and they perfectly balance each other out. Because if you have only light, we would overpopulate. This would overgrow, and eventually it would fall apart, right? And all the resource would run out, and all that. And it would get boring too. Like
Yeah.
if it's honestly, when they explain heaven, for instance, in biblical thing, that actually sounds kind of boring to me.
Yes.
Like, how long will you enjoy getting everything you want?
Right.
Maybe like a couple
Right.
of years, and then you'll be like, all right, like what else is
Yeah,
there? Like,
yeah, we got to have struggle.
so that chaos brings something interesting, something different, and it helps recycle and reform things. And I think humans really evolved through that chaos. Like, we had the wars and the chaos, and then we had the time of prosperity when we'd have like a renaissance or something, and then we would have this growth of evolution, and it goes back to chaos. And then again, like growth of, like, I mean, after World War II, look at how humanity evolved, like, because so much died, so many people died in World War II all over the world, that the growth was just exponential, like
Yeah.
unbelievable.
That's true.
Where we are now, like,
Hard times make strong men.
Yep.
yeah. And hard times make soft men, right?
Yeah.
And then soft men, soft,
Cycle.
yeah, and then it just keeps yeah. Right now we have soft men because of that. We have hard times,
Yeah.
but that means it's gonna go to
It's coming. That cycle's
the
coming.
opposite. So we need hard men to like fix this like hard,
Like hard times make strong men.
yeah. Yeah, I know Joe Rogan said that, but somebody else said it before him. I heard.
Oh, he said that? Yeah, someone else
Yeah,
definitely said
but
that.
yeah, it wasn't Joe Rogan's quote, but it's that's true. But
There's
it's a beautiful cycle.
three
though.
parts in that. I was just thinking about
Yeah.
that the other day too.
Mhm.
What is it? It's about peace.
Mm-hmm.
Hard men.
See, strong times.
No, it,
I forgot.
so yeah, I'm kind of I forgot it sort of.
No, it's a good
But
quote. It's a
yeah.
good
But it's
quote.
like but yeah, and I mean, and you see it on. I also love to study like nature, right? Because if you study biology and like animal nature, they are on the most basic form. So they don't have the agendas that we have, right? The indulgence in sex or something like that, or the feelings of fear for, I don't know, like hurting someone or whatever. Like a lion doesn't feel bad that he killed a gazelle, right? It's just natural instinct for him to need to eat. So when you look at them, and you could kind of look at that and build it up to a human scale, and you could understand why humans do certain things. And
Right.
some of these things are necessary. Our philosophy and our feelings get in the way, our emotions get in the way of understanding why it happened, and then we can't handle why it happened, and we get kind of crazy, and people commit suicide even, like, because they can't. I mean, like, suicide is not a thing in the animal kingdom. That's just does not exist. They don't feel like, well, they don't need to think that far.
Yeah, it's like a
they
higher
accept
brain
things
function.
right away.
Like,
yeah.
like I see it as a
It's a much higher brain function.
yeah, it's a fault, like you said. Like you
Yeah.
get stuck in this logic, and
Yeah.
then it's a flaw. And then,
Yeah, yeah, it's like a conundrum. You can't figure it out.
Exactly,
And then you just,
yep.
But I was watching this amazing TV show on Netflix, something apes. I forgot what it's called. But they follow this group of chimpanzees that they've been following for a while, and they have like two groups. There's one that's like the central group, they call them, and they're like a big group of chimps. And then there's like the Western group that are smaller, right? And this documentary was so incredible. Like the way that they have like really good footage now. You know, they used to film and they had to be far away, obviously, from.
Was this the one where they integrated the camera crew in with the apes for like forever? And so the apes pretty much ignored them?
Yeah, I think they probably did. They didn't show.
Yeah, I heard the Joe Rogan podcast and he was talking about that.
Yeah, they didn't show the camera crew or anything, but they had to because they were close to them. You could tell in some scenes they were like really close to the action, you know. But the way the chimps were behaving, it's like you could see this is human on its basic primal level. Like it was perfectly dictating, understand. And they go to war too. Like they went to war with each other and attacked, and they kill one, like the leader. They'll go after the leader because obviously you take them down, you demoralize the tribe, you know. And they also eat meat. I didn't know that. I didn't know chimps like they actually not even. I thought they only do it in like for war, kind of to show dominance. But they actually once in a while go out and hunt other monkeys. Like they'll go climb trees and take them, and then they share meat with like tribes and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, it was very interesting behavior. And their faces and everything, it was just like, it's almost undeniable that we probably evolved from that. Like it looks so close to human. Like, yeah. I had this cool interaction with a monkey when I was in India. I had this water bottle here, and that video went viral on my YouTube channel. And this monkey came up and sat next to me, and he reached over, and I was like, "Oh, you thirsty?" And I gave him water, and he's like showing me, like, "Can you twist it for me?" Like he was trying to twist it, and I'm like, all right. And then I gave it to him, and he pushed it back and showed me again, twist it. Like he had a consciousness, he understood what's happening, and he's trying to express to me. And it was the most like beautiful connection I ever had with an animal, because I was so highly conscious of an animal, and there's nothing on this world that's as close to human consciousness, really, because we're really up there. But you know, and then I opened it for him, and he grabbed it, and he drank it like a human too, like this, and then, you know, and sat down and like licked his lips and was sitting like a person with the bottle. It was a cool experience to see these primates, what they could do, their level of intellect. Yeah, but that's why, like, I'm just trying to say, like, a lot of people don't want to talk about this or admit or understand what war is, or what chaos is, and what darkness is, but you can clearly see that after, let's say, a forest fire in California, right? Like, these things burn a lot and devastation, but right afterwards, like almost instantly, there's beautiful sprouts of new life, and that forest overgrew. It was decaying and it was taking up space, and once it's burned, all these juveniles and new life can come up, a strong, new, evolved life, you know, through the ashes. And that's what's been happening with human wars also, like in conflict and chaos that we've experienced.
See, that's actually an interesting thing, is the hypothetical that if you could live forever, would you choose to live forever? And I look at that and I'm like, what a fucking arrogant thing to suggest. That I am so perfect that I ought to live forever. Like, no, man. Like, I feel like already, it's time for me to step back and let the next generation come up and do their thing. My ideas, my way of life ran its course for whatever, 20 years or so. That was my time. Yeah. But now it's time for me to start fading into the background. Yes. No, I don't think anybody should be living forever. To have that type of an influence, we have to die out. Yeah. That is part of the natural evolution of all of this stuff. Yeah. I'm not going to agree with the generation that's coming up underneath me, but the generation above me didn't appreciate what I had. So I mean, that's just
none of them ever
that's
did,
part of the thing, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You can see that in human history, though, like the obsession with immortality, you know, especially in the king, like the highest ego level of narcissism of like, you know, building a massive pyramid. Well, it maybe it's not what it was for, because there's a lot of theories of what it was for, but they did build huge monuments in many different cultures, like huge, you know, tombs, and preserved them in specific ways, and even killed off like a bunch of servants and mummified them next to them. Like when he comes back, he has like servants again and all that, and gold and all that. It's amazing. Like just let go. It's okay. And you know what I realized? That's one of the major like downsides of humanity. Humans don't know how to let go.
That's
like
true.
If you could know how to let go of a trauma, for instance, like I had some serious traumas in my life. And once I learned how to let them go, I have no feeling of trauma in my past. Like, I've been stabbed, I've been near death multiple times, and I actually look back on it like a movie. Like, it was a fun drama to watch. Like, look at this action movie. It was so cool. Like, look at this scene of gangs fighting whatever in the streets and this and that. Like, you know, and it doesn't bother me anymore at all. But if you can't let it go, it's gonna keep eating away at you and chipping away your body until a point of like you just collapse and you can't live no more. And
that's the final stage of coping is the acceptance. You gotta be able to accept stuff. And I've seen that not exactly for that purpose. Like I haven't done this consciously. It was more of just like an instinctually recognizing that this is not good. I need to go over there. And especially with death, like I have not had to deal with anyone close to me dying ever. My closest relative that died was my dad, but he wasn't even close. Like I found out, I was just like, okay, he wasn't here before, so he's not here now. I mean, everything's the same. Yeah. But I've watched people around me lose people that were close to them, and it's super hard, you know. And I'm like scared of that, so I've tried to go through in my own way to come to peace with this concept of death on its own. And you know, there was a time where I was very deep into Christianity, but then I came away from that because I just didn't. I bought into it lock, stock, and barrel, but it was for the psychology, like the concept of love and treating people good. Like I love that. I very much still want that. But it was the mystical parts of it that can't be explained by science, and, you know, just only on faith that I'm like, I just don't. Yeah. So I've pulled back on all that. So for me, I don't know what happened. Like I'm not atheist per se. I'm agnostic, I guess. That I'm pretty sure there's something else out there. We just probably cannot conceive of it any better than an ant will understand quantum physics. Like we don't physically have the capacity to even understand it. Yeah. So whatever it is, we'll find out. So for me, it's just an unknown. The idea that when I die or when the people around me die, yeah, it's a little bit scary, but I'm also tempering that quite a bit. Like we all have to do it. And there are billions upon billions of people who've done it before us, and there are plenty billions more to come that will do it again. Yeah. So whatever. Like, here we go. This is like, go down the slide. Yeah. And I'm okay with that now. So to accept, like I said, like I've lived a life that I've lived with the understanding that my time here is short and I got to get it done, you know? And so it's not about panicking and trying to hold on to the thing that you can't hold on to, which is what I see this to be when you want to have temples built in your honor and you want to live forever is you don't know how to let go and accept. Yeah.
And it might not, like in the case of Ozymandias.
And then who?
Ozymandias.
Who's that?
He was a great king who built many statues, but at the end, many other empires emerged. He was forgotten. His statue remained forgotten in a pit of sand. Wow. Have you seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah. Only the first couple of seasons.
Oh, okay. But there's the highest rated, for any kind of episode in television history is the episode called Ozymandias. In which his empire falls apart. Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't that something? Like if you could know, like if you're a ghost and you're just sitting out there and you're like, fuck. Yeah. Right. I did all that work.
Right. Yeah. Good one.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a shift, but just like interested, like what are some like protective factors where you were in that dark place and you're depressed, and then you were kind of saying that I'm on like kind of on the edge, but you didn't.
Protective factors?
Yeah.
That kept me from doing it?
Exactly.
It's interesting. So this one particular, like the head of this time came at Christmas. My divorce had just gotten started a few months earlier. So my wife took the kids, moved up north, and naturally she had family, I did not. So the kids would be with her for this period of time. And I was going through a pretty severe identity crisis because now I don't have a wife and I don't really have kids anymore either. And I'm like, my whole life was about my family, my wife and kids. So I didn't know what I was doing and why I was getting up in the morning. So I became numb. Like that was the first thing that happened. And then I guess in the absence of any of the good stuff, I sort of came through this withdrawal period, maybe is a good way to describe it. A withdrawal from having people love me. Like now I didn't have anybody loving me at all. And that numbness started turning into more like an aching. And I don't know exactly how it all came to a big head, but it had to do with the holidays because I had a business at the time and I just finished up our Christmas dinner and I was given a gift by one of my employees that I didn't open right then and there. And I went home and I was on my way to the garage to go start the car and just die by
Carbon monoxide.
carbon monoxide poisoning in the garage. And the box was there on the counter as I was rolling by, and I was like, I'll just see what's in here. And I opened it up, and it was this book she had made. She put together this book, and there was a picture of each one of my employees, because I'm always close with my staff, just like because for me it's not a business. We're more like a pack, and we count on each other. We rely on each other to take care of each other and our families. So it was more than just employees to me. And so there was a picture of every employee, and they all wrote a little message to me, something personal. And I couldn't even get through the book, and I started crying. Even now, it's choking me up to think about. And to them, it wasn't like these enormously deep words, but for me in that moment, just like you said, like just the thing you needed at just the right time, that was what saved me. And somehow or another, that was also the same moment. It clicked in my brain, like my life isn't that bad. My life is pretty goddamn good. But had that not happened, I don't know what I would have done, man, because that's one of the ways that I had not fantasized in like the positive sense, but just thought about a lot. Like that's such an easy way to go.
Yeah.
You just fall asleep. Like I've passed out many a times.
Yeah.
Like we used to do it for fun in high school. And that's it. And then you just don't wake up. That's the end of it. Like I don't want to shoot myself in the face or anything like that. Because heaven forbid you should miss. Like I've heard about some of those gone wrong. Jesus Christ. But death by carbon monoxide doesn't seem so bad to me, and that's scary. That I would have potentially gone all the way.
Yeah.
But that was it. That was just the one time I've ever done it. I can't imagine now having that realization that I'll ever allow myself to get that bad. I mean, it would have to be something like with 9/11, like the literal building is on fire and it is so goddamn hot, like you don't have a choice but to jump out the window. Okay, well that's really just picking your poison. That's not really suicide.
And I'm sure you've seen great personal growth since then as well.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like I've always been on that path. That is something I wanted.
No, in terms of like keeping your mind away from these type of thoughts.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, I was actually pretty ashamed of myself for allowing myself to go that far into self-pity, because it was a
crown back on your head.
Yeah. So.
You see, what it was primarily was somebody else. It was like the passion of other humans, and you didn't want to, I guess, give up your life because there's other people relying on you, perhaps, and there's other people out there. Like for me, I had a point where I was also suicidal in my life, and the only reason I didn't do it was I thought about, because my mom and dad like really loved me, and I know that they probably would have a heart attack or something like that, or a stroke if they found me, and that stopped me, like that thought of someone else, like how I would leave the world, the kind of state I would leave the world in, I guess. I think that could be powerful a lot of times.
I think you're right. I think you're right on.
But then again, though, if you don't have anybody else,
exactly,
that's when it do like. Yeah. So you have to have something a little more sustainable. Yeah. Well, because like you said, like wife and kids left, right? Then you could have had, like, you felt like you were kind of had nobody around. And I
really didn't, because that's always been my weakness in my social, in taking care of my social life, is I neglect my relationships. And if you ask my ex-wife, she'll say, you neglected me too, which she wouldn't be wrong necessarily. Because like when you talk about how it's it feels good to be able to go be by yourself and with your own thoughts. That's for me too. I love being by my, like I love long car trips with just me in my head. I love it.
Yeah.
But you know, you got to strike a proper balance, right? You got to have your alone time, sure, but then you also got to take care of the people around you and who love you and make sure you're doing that stuff too.
Yeah.
And I have a tendency to just completely neglect and be like, no, I don't need anybody. I'm okay. I, for the most part, am. You know, I can do pretty good.
That's lovely.
It's just when you get into a position in life that's the black swan event, right?
Yeah.
And you have not done what you needed to do all the while to make sure that you have a nice insulating group of people around you to carry you, help you through those times, then you're fucked. Like you're just fucked.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they say, you know, I see it on Facebook all the time about people who are depressed. Like check on your friends who are depressed. Let them know that you're there. Because that might be it. You might be the only person that one day that stopped them from doing it.
Yep.
Kind of just segueing into something else, kind of related. A lot of men, young men nowadays, actually go through with it, and they might have even greater protective factors, yet they still go through with it. Why do you think that case? We have all the statistics, we have all the reasons why they may do it, but we still don't know why or how to even have them stop.
I think it has to do a lot with multiple factors. Like you can't oversimplify a complex situation. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there is something genetic about it.
Okay.
You know, my ex-wife struggled with depression just naturally. And as I watched her go through her struggle, I could see patterns of behavior, you know, like clockwork through the month. It was just like the cycle, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And I'm like, this is not just circumstances of your life.
Yeah.
This is not just the traumas from your childhood. This is not just problems in your marriage. Like there's an actual underlying something's going on with the chemical and the neurons and the whatevers in your brain to cause this stuff, you know? And that's why I think there is this integration of antidepressant medications, right? Because there is some truth to the fact that there are certain chemical imbalances that can be modified for the better with medication. But you can't just say that all of them are. Like, that's not true. I mean, there's just straight up hard work. There's stuff like you just need a better social life. You need to resolve your hardships in your relationship. There's a lot of stuff. And I guess it's not a whole lot different than your physical health, right? You know, you can't just say you're going to take vitamins and you'll be a healthy person. There's a lot of stuff you got to do to be, and everybody has a different metabolism. Everybody has a different DNA. Everybody has a different body type. We're all going to look different. We're going to be different. So you got to figure out what's going on in you and deal with that. And I don't think we have a system in place right now for mental health that is adequate, which is sad to me because in the day and age that we live, with the resources at our disposal as a species, for Christ's sake, that could be dealt with like in 3 months. We could have it all just buttoned up, I'm sure. But we don't. We focus on keeping people sick. You know, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy nut either. I see that the potential is very, very much there for corruption and
You could see the
all
loop
of that.
there.
You can definitely see
With big pharma
just-
and the food industry and the
absolutely,
government
man.
lobbyists.
Yeah, and if you just
it's-
leave it, and I believe pretty heavily in an unconscious collective consciousness, like unconscious, subconscious. I guess it's more of a subconscious collective consciousness. And then because we're all motivated by generally the same idea, which is, you know, but this is actually another thing. I'll grab it, put it in here real quick, which is humans are motivated by fear. At our most fundamental, no matter what it is, everything always boils down to a fear of some kind. It may not always look the same as fear, like a fear of a lion, but it's some kind of a thing. It's an apprehension, and we are responding to placate that, to not be afraid.
Yeah.
And there are other things, like good things that don't have anything, like laughing. Laughing is not about fear. That's not that is an offshoot. That's something different, but that's a one-off. That's not necessarily a motivating force in a society. It's entertainment, right? But if it's fear that you don't have enough food in your house. So you're going to go out there and you're going to get the work done, you're going to get it done. Like if you're living in a group, like you were saying, a big group of people, and you got to push in through, you know, it's a fear that you might get left out or somebody else to get ahead, right? There's a fear that motivates you. And if it's continuously just fear motivating us, then that also ends up into greed, because greed is like level 2. Greed insulates you from not having enough. And then eventually you're just motivated, not because you literally don't have enough or that you're afraid you might not, because if you have billions of dollars, how many more dollars do you need? You have plenty of money for food, but it's not about that anymore. It's just about how many, it's a relationship idea.
Yeah.
Like I have 6 billion, but that might not be enough because I've always had 6 and now I need 7. You know,
Yeah,
7 is
right,
more than
yeah.
6.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you just keep moving and moving and
Yeah.
moving. And if that is what it is for every one of us on our individual level, then collectively the whole group is living in this greedy, self-centered, worried about me and making sure I have enough lifestyle.
Yeah.
So if that's true, then anytime that there's an opportunity to exploit, I don't see why no one would take it. I mean, it's like guaranteed that, of course, the system, like maybe it's not one person, maybe it's not the CEOs of the pharmaceutical companies, but it's all of it. It's the investors, it's the pharmacists, it's the
Yeah.
everybody trying to do their thing for themselves, and there's not enough. And there are people who say, no, I won't do that because I see what it is and I don't want to be that type of person. I'm going to be a good person and I'm going to tell a good thing. But it's such a small minority that
Yeah.
it doesn't make an impact enough, except for, you know,
Yeah.
when you have the other influential systems like government. Government is the one wild card in all of this, where they can all of a sudden out of nowhere just be like, bam, no, don't care what you want to do, this is what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Which normally that also works through greed and, you know, self-serving and fear and all that stuff. So it doesn't usually, but every once in a while it does, you know, for one reason or another. Like, for example, slavery. I mean, it's amazing to me that this country got rid of slavery, because there wasn't
Yeah.
again, what was the benefit to letting your slaves go? There wasn't a benefit. It was a cost.
Yeah.
It cost everybody money.
Graham's
And
point.
It even cost them to go to war.
it cost them to go to
Yeah.
war. People lost their lives fighting both sides of that
Yeah.
battle. You
Yeah.
know, and
Because the
but-
South wouldn't let it go, yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately it happened. And that's one of the great things. And I'm sure there were some other motivating factors behind the scenes, but by and large, I like to believe that somehow good prevailed. Like, we were smart
Yeah.
enough to recognize this was stupid and we can't be doing this anymore. So, to circle all that back around to this idea with health and mental health, like, I don't see a benefit, financial benefit to anybody to fix people. I see a benefit to medicate and keep that going on. Same with cancer. I don't see a benefit to stop cancer. I don't see a benefit to solve these social issues like we were talking about the other night was abortion. You know, we can't ever agree on everything 100%. That's true.
Yeah.
We won't. But on issues like abortion, I believe that the population of this country could probably agree about 80% of the issues about the issue of abortion. It's not a binary question. There's so many different pieces to it. Like, like what if a woman's life is at risk? If she's literally got to choose between her dying and, you know,
Yeah.
giving up on her baby, the vast majority of the population is going to be like, well, of course we're going to allow that.
Or if she was raped and impregnated.
Or if she was raped. If she's a 14-year-old girl who got raped in the back alley in New York,
Yeah.
are you going to let her have an abortion? Most of us, the vast majority of us would say, yeah, we're going to allow that one to get, we're not going to get involved. We're not, as neighbors, because ultimately that's what the government is, right? It's your neighbors telling you, hey, we don't want you to paint your house that color, except on a grander scale. You can't do these things. And the idea that your neighbors are going to tell you you can't get an abortion, like, somewhere it's not your neighbor's business at all. You know, especially when it comes to your physical health, you know, your life and death, your, you know, underage daughter, and I'm sure there are other examples of that. But my point is, we never get that far because they lump it all into this one hot topic issue, and they polarize the country and they use it as a wedge to drive you to either one political party or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think has been happening. Like, I've noticed they've created wedges everywhere. Like,
Yes.
it's as almost they're preparing for something in the world. Like they drove a wedge between the West and the East by creating this war with Russia and Ukraine.
Yes.
That's a huge, like, I thought shit's gonna go real bad now because, like, you know, I think they were hoping for the conflict
yeah.
between the West, but the West didn't go to war, and now it's like this whole, my home country is getting just this shit show of like this fucking propaganda scandal. What I don't want to get into it,
Yeah.
but now it's like the Middle East got a wedge, you know, with between the Muslim and the Jewish population, and they're all going in it. And in America, with the Black Lives Matter movement, also that was, I think, was to create a massive
Absolutely.
wedge too, like between the populations, and also like who's for this president and that president. Oh, Trump, everything. Oh, no Trump or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
But and all in all, in the end, I noticed, like, I don't pay attention to any of this shit. Like, COVID, I don't give a shit, honestly, about, I don't give a fuck what the president is doing. Because I know that the more I think about it, the less I think about me and my evolution and what I can actually do. Like, that beautiful quote that Gandhi said, like, be the fucking, the light you want to see in the world, or something. The change you want to see in the world, excuse me. You know, like, if we all did that, this world would be way different. But we end up focusing on what the kings wants to know, or what is that neighboring faction doing, or whatever, and
Yeah.
we're completely distracted,
Yep.
and we're not solving anything really. We're just
right.
getting angrier, basically.
Well, that's the lack of leadership.
Yeah.
I've heard this. I think it's in the
or
Bible.
or the manipulation of leadership. Like,
Well, yeah, but I mean,
creating
at a just like
Yeah.
a fundamental community level, you know, just like here we have our own little
Yeah.
community here tonight,
Yeah.
right? And at that point, you know, I've heard it. I'm pretty sure it was in the Bible. It's been a long time since I read the Bible, but it talks about you don't need more leaders; you need more fathers. And I love that idea that there is a difference there. You know, a leader, you know, just it's a task that you do, but a father is in it for the long haul. Even when the task is over, like
Yeah.
his value is way more than the job at
Yeah.
hand. It just permeates everything, right?
Yeah.
But then to carry that back into leadership, you know, we value and put on the pedestal this idea that our politicians are our leaders. They are leaders, but from the way I see it, they're more of just the bureaucratic leadership. They don't have any power in my community. My community has power in my community. My people that I see at the store have power in my community because I see them on a regular basis. These people are like, they may as well be AI figures that were generated. I don't even know if they're real or not. I've never seen them. I'll never sit down with them. But the people in my town, in my community, that can be a leader, can, you know, and make an effort to communicate in person to one another and say things like, I don't even know. It's such a strange thing to think about now, but
Yeah.
everything from, you know, let's talk about the bicyclist who got hit on the road. Like, there's an issue, and we need to talk about safety. Let's talk about what's going on in our schools. Let's talk about,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's local politics in large part.
Yeah.
But again, that's still the difference between a leader and a father. We don't need more leaders. We need more fathers.
Yeah.
Very true.
No, unfortunately, like, a lot of people just don't. Like I was fortunate enough to have a really good father, and I think that's part why I love so many things, because he was a chemist. He loved engineering. He worked in a museum, and he put together like dinosaur bones, and he took me in there and showed me in Kiev and stuff. Like, look, I put together this like whole like ancient hut out of bones and stuff. So he showed me the world like that, just the anthropology and cultures and all this that exists, and it opened my mind to it. And he's a very loving person, you know. And maybe that's why I grew up, and I'm, I think, a lot more stable, or I'm conscious, and I'm calm most of the time. I'm not like easily rattled. But I have met many people that have not even just like no father, but very abusive fathers, like just unstable, unhinged fathers that will come home drunk and beat the shit out of them. And they need leaders, and they need to look, and that's where they mostly look, is like somebody that's either a politician or a gang leader. A
Yeah.
lot of times in communities, that's why they get so much power, because you see this guy that's running around in a nice car, and he's got money and flash, and he's like, yo, come with me, I'm going to show you how to do all this. And the kid doesn't have a father, really.
Well, that's the
He
thing.
goes with the bad leader,
It's
you know,
the
negative
what
leader.
you just said. It's the come with me.
Yeah.
That's a fucking leader. Politicians never say come with me. They're
Yeah.
like, vote for me. I need your vote. Like,
Yeah.
that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're planning to go do whatever the fuck you're gonna do. but you don't need me. I want to follow somebody who needs me, who makes me feel like I'm a piece of something. And our politicians don't include us. I can't really blame them per se, because they're in a system that it's just a service company for the American public.
Yeah.
Just like no different than the garbage man. You know, we pay somebody to take care of the garbage that we don't want to take care of. The police department. We don't fucking help the police. Like, then we get pissed off when they do things wrong. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What a raw deal. What a fucking raw deal. You know, it drives me crazy when I see the police video. I should say, there are bad people that wear a badge. And there are amazing people that wear a badge.
Yeah.
Go figure. There's some people, right? You know, that's true. It happens both ways. But it fucking drives me crazy when I see somebody videoing an officer in a struggle with somebody, and that person's trying to get that officer's gun, and they're just like they're not even helping. Like, for fuck's sake, you're a human being watching another human being who's asking you to help them. And I mean, I get it. Not everybody's going to get involved in a physical confrontation, sure. But to sit there with your phone and just record it and not go get somebody else, like anything.
Yeah.
It's those indications of de-evolution that drive me nuts, man. It's like, how do you make that better? And it comes back to leadership. Again, you know, and if that was the town and you had a good group of leaders, it's not just one. It's, you know, strong men and women who everybody looks up to because I don't know what it is. I mean, what is it about a leader that is so charismatic? Is it truly charisma, or is it just you see their behavior and you identify that that's what you want to be like, right? You respect them. I guess it's all those things.
Yeah, it's a number of factors.
It's a number of factors, for sure.
Yeah.
But when those people come in and when they admonish the community and say, you guys fucked up, like, I can't believe you didn't do that. Like, we need to take steps to not allow this to happen again. Or when it's the other way around, if it's a Rodney King situation, you know, where the community leaders get together with the police chief and say, this has gone way off the rails, and you're going to fix this, because we're not putting up with this. Like, it doesn't need to turn into a goddamn riot, because who wins in the riot? Nobody wins in the riot. We all look like fools now. When was the last one? The Black Lives Matter riot. And I seen this one guy, this black man's, his shop was getting busted into. And he's like, why are you doing this? I'm one of you guys, you know, I'm here, I'm in your community serving you in this business. You're screwing my life up. And they didn't even care. Didn't even matter.
Yeah. Yeah, because it wasn't really about that. It was
that's true too.
You know,
it wasn't that. But
they
again, you know, there's the wedges and the orchestration that happen at a higher level, and then at the lower levels, again, I guess if you projected that out even further, the higher orchestration representing a higher plan and order, more sophisticated, whereas the lower level is more basic. Primitive and primal, instinctive. Just go smash it, get some free shit. Like, that's all you care about. You don't care about what the plan is for the real organization or the politics behind it or anything. You just know that you're going to get a free DVD player or whatever it is that you're trying to get. Right?
Yeah.
And I guess that really comes back to the sophistication of it. I hate manipulating. I really, really hate it. I could probably be a pretty damn good manipulator because I recognize the stuff, but I don't want to control people, man. Like, and that's something I've recognized. For humans, you've either got those that want to control, want to be controlled, or who don't want to control or be controlled.
Yeah.
You know, and you're the variance in between, of course.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm the latter. I can't do it. It drives me crazy, which is how I think I end up becoming an advocate for people who need help being defended in some way because they're being attacked. Somebody is trying to make them do a thing. I don't mean like criminal defense or anything like that necessarily. I'm just saying, I don't know. Anytime I see one person trying to exact their will on another, that's a trigger in me, man, and I am just upset. But then also, flip side is that manipulating is me. I would be imposing my will upon somebody else and trying to force them to do what I want. I won't do that either, which is probably a lot of the reason why I enjoy being alone is I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. No one's giving me shit, and I'm not giving it to anyone else either.
Yeah.
Off the grid.
Off the grid. Peace. people are the problem. Well, people are nice. Society is the problem.
Yeah, it is. And like, I just want to piggyback on what you said. Like, for example, relates to everything actually. Like, abortion being a binary issue. It's like layers of even like peeling an onion. For example, if we just at that level said that, okay, is abortion good or bad? Maybe the moral reason for that is like killing a baby. So most people will say that, okay, so we're kind of going towards, yes, it's bad. But now let's go to the next level. In the 70s and 80s, like he was talking about New York and LA, crime was really bad. But all of a sudden, in the 2000s and 90s, crime is improving. But why is that? Roe versus Wade. What kind of mothers usually have abortions? That do not have fathers, that come from low-income neighborhoods, that have been emotionally abused, raped, traumatized. And those children usually don't end up pretty well become criminals. So we've kind of shifted our way like, okay, it's bad to kill a baby. However, crime is also bad. So maybe I support abortion now just to have lower crime. So like you're saying, there's so many layers to this.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing can be binary.
Nope.
And like morality from there, it's like kind of what you pick and choose.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And those discussions, we don't have
Ever.
intelligent discussions anymore.
We can't. They just don't allow it anymore. Like these things I've just mentioned now, it'll be somehow getting someone canceled,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of what happens here, though, is around a fire, and if this is happening all across the country, that people are having an opportunity to come and just talk, to respect one another's opinions, even when we don't agree,
Yeah.
but to hear the opinion, because we don't hear it. We just isolate ourselves into our own little bubble where everyone agrees with us, and then Instagram and Facebook and all the other ones, their algorithms say yes, here's the right amount of stuff is going to infuriate you, these 30-second sound bites,
Yeah.
and then don't worry because here's a bunch of stuff that you really agree with, and so it's working that polarization process again, But to back away from that and say, no, man, we can listen, and we need to listen if we're gonna have any hope for agreement in the future and progress. It's gonna be through compromise. And there's
Yeah.
things that I've listened to people before. One is a crazy one. Was when you're driving on the highway, and the sign comes up and it says, "Construction ahead, lane closed, merge left." Do you wait to go to the merge point and then merge, or do you start merging, a mile down the road? So for me, I was always like, well, I think we should just start merging in advance before it slows down and turns into a nightmare, right? And then every once in a while, I would get stuck in that, the lane that everyone's merging into, while everybody else just keeps flying past me and then getting up and merge, getting up and merge, and getting up and merge. And then you watch the truck drivers, they go over and they'll block both lanes, and then both lanes of traffic will drive to the merge point and then integrate, and no one is racing out anybody else, right? And that drove me crazy. So I eventually learned that yes, you're supposed to go to the merge point, which I was like, no, that's not what you do. You merge way the hell back there, and then you don't work. Nobody's at the merge point, except for a couple of cars. But that's not how you're supposed to do it. Everybody's supposed to maintain their lane, go the same speed till you get to the merge point, and then only merge at the merge point. That is actually the way you're supposed to do it. And I had to listen to somebody fighting with me before I was like, oh yeah, I was wrong, my bad. Now I know. I mean, it doesn't help me in traffic. I still get stuck in whatever, but anything, that's just my point is being able to hear countering a point respectfully.
Of course, always. Like without that, we're also very much lost because we just hear one speak.
Absolutely, yeah. That's not growth. That's an inbred way of thinking.
Yeah, nicely.
Good deep thoughts.
Yeah. My brain is shutting down a little bit.
I was gonna say you're looking kind of tired over there, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I slept 4 hours last night and had to wake up at 3.
Oh,
Get
Jesus.
to the airport and all that, and
I'm surprised you're still up.
yeah. And I barely slept because I was all like, did I get everything? Oh, well, I got this little modification in my pack. Oh, did I put this in there? I kept like waking up and being nervous, like, because I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, once you start, like,
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm so nervous, because my wife's like, well, don't worry about it. Like, you need something, I'll ship it to you. Because,
That's
I mean,
true.
that's how I'm going to finish this trail. Like, I can't just eat out the whole time. I'm trying to eat organic, too, you know?
Oh yeah, that's tough.
So, like, I actually prepared a lot of food. I bought all this food Costco, but it's organic, like cans of sardines and extra virgin olive oil. That's, you know, like nice and
Yeah.
clean. And then it's like organic. So I made my own protein bars and all that. Like, I went to like high lengths to make it as good as possible.
Nice.
So she's shipping me boxes. So like every 5 days or so, 6 days, I go to post office, I pick up a box, and then I replenish my food in my bag.
That's cool, man. How much weight and food do you usually carry?
About like no more than 4 pounds. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like 3. Because you could go light with dehydrated food. Like, you know,
Right.
I have dried like buckwheat. I have potato flakes, which just turn to mashed potatoes, you know, and I add things in there like little seeds and whatever and stuff like that. And then, but then like the sardine cans, they add weight, and like the protein is the heaviest, you know. But
How many calories do you think you burn when you're hitting the mountains?
4,000 a day.
Really?
Yeah, like there's no way to keep up weight. Even if I eat like a pizza pie every day or 2 pizza pies every day, you still lose weight.
Wow.
Yeah. By the end of this trail, I'm probably gonna be like 150 or so. I'm like
Emaciated.
180 right now. Yeah, like
Jeez.
I might be like 150 or lower. Like
Wow.
I know I'm gonna be much skinnier. I'm gonna lose a lot of body fat and muscle. But that's okay though. Like I feel like this is going to be kind of a cleansing of the system. You know, like our ancestors
Absolutely,
went
yeah.
on these major journeys, right? These like around the world, and they've suffered a lot. Like, you
Yep.
know, emaciated, dehydrated, and that was kind of part of it, like the fasting period. You know, like cleaning the cells. Like people don't do the intermittent fasting anymore, and every religion actually used to do that. And people don't do it anymore because not many believe in religion anymore. But that was like intuitive for people to do fasting certain times a year, and you see what happens. It cleans the cells, and the cells work much more optimally. And
Yeah.
that's why people get sluggish and get all kinds of disease, because their cells are clogged up basically, and then they start inflaming. And most humans are suffering from inflammation diseases. So I mean, hope like I have these allergies. These like I have a freaking stack. Like I got tested. I think a lot of it came from Chernobyl, like, because
Really?
I lived in Kiev for a while, even after, you know, we came back there and all that, and there's still freaking radiation. Then we moved to Detroit, which in the early 90s was like, you know, super freaking dirty. And then we moved to New York. So like my body's just like, I think it just got like overfilled with chemicals and all kinds of like
Yeah.
nasty foods and stuff like that. And, these things, I treat this kind of thing as like a cleanse, you know, like I'm drinking clean water every day. I'm drinking a lot of water too, like a lot of water. And I'm eating as healthy as I can. And I'm moving a lot. So I'm burning a lot of calories.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm breathing fresh air, you know, and you guys have some of the best air out here. And these are like islands in the ocean, basically. It's freaking amazing air out here. So, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of water, I'm a bit of a water, not a snob about it, but I'm like very sensitive about my water.
I'm
And I
like a
finally-
connoisseur with water.
I
I've
finally-
drank all over the world.
I finally got my water maker installed here, because the more I learn about just like,
Is it a desalinator or
yeah,
what?
it's a desalinator.
Nice.
And then it runs through, I mean, it's reverse osmosis, of
Yeah,
course.
right.
But then I run it through another reverse osmosis, because who knows what's in the tank, the holding tank.
But
But I
you-
just love the idea that the water that I'm getting right now it didn't come out of a plastic bottle. It did go through a fiberglass, membrane. True.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
went through some plastic pipes, but for the most part, like that's about as good of water as I'm going to get out here on the ocean.
Yeah,
It's not
definitely.
the mountain springs, of course. I've drank
Yeah.
Mount Spring water. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
That is the best. Straight just like gushing out of the side of the hill and you're just like
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You try that.
good stuff.
I drank for so long. Like, I used to have, the Poland Spring deliveries. So, like, the big jugs, I used to have this shipping service business in Brooklyn. And eventually, I found this house in Pennsylvania. And on the way to that house, there's this park and they have just an artisan well. Just like they tap the pipe into a mountain,
Yep.
and it's just pouring water, and it's free water, you know, and it's good. And so I canceled the Poland Spring, and they let me keep the machine in the bottles. They're like, all right, whatever, just keep it. So I started filling up for like the past 8 years or so. I've been drinking Pocono Springs, I call it, basically, because it's the Poconos, you know. So, and last time I just filled up, like before I left for the family, I got like a bunch of jugs, so everybody has water on them, because I take that very serious. Everybody
Yeah.
has like good water.
Yep.
There was a line of at least 15 cars. Like it took me an
Wow.
hour to get. Like people are noting, like finding that place and noticing this is good water and it's free water and it's healthy water. So now they're lining up and they're like putting up their trucks and filling up like, you know, like 1,000 gallons or something like.
Jeez. Wow.
But
that's crazy.
that water is great. Like
Yeah, I love that stuff. Yeah, we had a couple of those. I'm on the west side of Pennsylvania when I go see my kids.
You said Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, north
Yeah.
of Pittsburgh, actually,
Yeah.
about 30, 45 minutes south of Erie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'd have that there. And then my grandfather lives out in Washington State. He's got a piece of property up there
Oh, it's beautiful
in the
out there.
mountains. And he's got like this hole. There's just like this probably, I don't know, 9 foot deep, 8 foot deep spring, I think is what it is. I was a kid when I seen it. Maybe it was only 4 feet. Looked pretty damn deep to me. But we go there with a 5-gallon bucket and just dip it and pull it up. And had a ladle that it's hang on the bucket, you know, and just ladle it up. Oh, it was so good. Like that. It's just got
Yeah.
that bite, that flavorful. I don't even know what it
That
is.
mineral
Some
kinda
mineral.
like
Yeah, it must be
content, yeah.
minerals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cold. Just always
Yeah.
cold. But not so freezing cold. It's like 50 something degrees. You know, just the right temperature.
Yeah.
Man, I could use a good glass of water right now. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I love like drinking water all over the world, like just tapping. And I was bringing my filter bottle with me. Like I drank from the Ganges and all that through the filter, obviously. And I'm just all over like Himalayas and other regions in America and Europe and all that. And just it's all like different. I love that because it has different mineral content.
Yes.
And then there's like glacier water out there you can
Yep.
buy too, which is pretty cool. Like to taste like ancient water that's been frozen for like a million years
Right.
or whatever. Like that's freaking cool.
What type of filter do you use?
It's called a Sawyer Squeeze. So I just, oh, it's not on, but it's in my pack. You just screw it onto the bottle or
Oh, really?
any kind of thread like that, you know,
Oh, yeah.
regular plastic bottles. And I fill up the bottle, I screw it on, and then you just drink through it. It's like that big.
No kidding.
And it filters, I think about 9 to 10,000 gallons until it gets clogged up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And it weighs like 2 ounces too. Yeah, it's really
Wow.
light. It's very portable. Amazing filter. Like I've never had issues with like any kind of contaminants. I've drank from, like all over the world with that. You know.
For your channel, is that like part of your thing? You just share all your
Yeah.
products and stuff?
And that's what I want to like. I want to show people that like I'm a city boy, but my parents brought me out into nature, and Russians are all like that. Like I mean, technically Ukrainian, but my family Russian, whatever. Like in Russia and everywhere out there, they would live in the city, and then they would have a vacation or a summer house or like a weekend house, right? It's
Yeah,
called a dacha in Russian. And they would go out pretty much every weekend. Everybody does this, Eastern Europe and Russia. And they collect mushrooms, they go fishing or whatever nature, and then they go back to the cities and they work. And that kind of balances things out.
Yeah,
It makes
yeah, yeah.
sense. You make the money and then you go relax in nature, you know.
Right.
So they taught me a lot about like picking mushrooms and stuff. I love collecting mushrooms. Like I learned a lot about it myself too later. But I want like on my channel, I show different mushrooms I pick. I show different kind of gear, and I want to get a little more into like gear, and affiliate links are great too. Like I could show people and give them a discount, and then I get a kickback too,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
a great
yeah.
little profit like you can make from that. So that's what I'm like trying to show people. Like you could have, it's like you put this pack together. Like I have this backpack, right, and it. All right, maybe if you want to go ultra light with the best equipment, all right, it's like $1,500. But then that could last me like 6 months of fun, you know, where I don't have to keep paying for it. I can
Right.
sleep in places. I feel
Right, right.
self-reliant too. Like I'm not dependent on like housing markets and all of that, or water and money. I mean,
Yep.
food is the only thing that's hard to really, you know, you can't really replenish it. You have to get it somewhere.
But like you said, I mean, because the stuff that you make at home has a pretty good shelf life too, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And I also hunt and I collect mushrooms and edible herbs, and I started growing stuff. I got a bunch of tomatoes last year, and I'm getting more into gardening and understanding like organic produce. And so I'm trying to get more self-reliant.
Do you ever think about making your own brand of like protein bars or anything like that?
That'd be cool, yeah. I just, you know what I want? I don't want to make anything that requires a lot of like energy and resource. Like I know that a protein bar, I have to get all these recipes together. Somebody's got to put it together. I got to put it together. Then they got to like package it. Then you got to advertise. Then you got to run this and this and that. Where I notice one of the best ways to make money nowadays is from passive income from like social media accounts, of some kind of advertisement or affiliates or things like that within that portal, which has never been allowed in human history. Like
Right.
we
Yeah.
always had to work our asses off to
Yes.
get any kind of food.
Yes.
And right now you got influencers making like $10,000 a month.
Oh,
you
it's
know,
crazy.
like living the life that they want. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
doing
just
nothing,
enjoying.
just sharing information.
Yeah, just sharing their lifestyle or something like that. It's incredible, you know. But they are bringing value too, because they're showing, hey, this is a lifestyle you could live, and also people could live it vicariously. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to just go away like I am, whatever.
Yeah.
And at least they could enjoy some of it kind of through video. I think a lot of people are living life through video, especially after COVID. People stopped going out and connecting and
well-
just started watching the world through a screen more.
We've never had such good screens. Like
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
easy. Like even now to
Such good cameras
to go to a
and
sports
screens.
game, you know, people go to the sports game and they're at the game watching it on their phone. It's just
Yeah.
you can't beat it. You
Oh,
can't
they're
beat
at the
it.
concert, like filming it. with
Yes,
their
filming
phone
it,
and
yeah,
shit, and
yeah,
watching
ridiculous.
through the phone screen. That's
Yes.
crazy. They're glued to the phone. Yeah.
But yeah, all that
But-
money that goes out there through the influencers is crazy to me because like that money was flowing before there were influencers. But where was it going? It's going into ads pocket, you know, the pockets of ad producers.
Yeah. I guess.
So crazy how much money has been flowing.
Yeah.
All that while now it's being redistributed. I mean, it's a shift, I guess.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I wanted. That's why I picked this name. I called it Primal to Modern. So going into primal worlds and primal settings and understanding my primal biological self, like going out and hiking and experiencing nature and fear of wild animals and you know
Yeah.
all of that and,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
cold and the rain, and then bringing what I learned into a modern setting. And sitting down and understanding it like philosophically, what can I do better? How can I tweak this and that and keep evolving? But I think if we just keep it modern, we get like just stuck in a phone all day, and it's very easy to just get stuck swiping through TikTok or whatever. It's super entertaining, you know. But you got to go out there into that primal, like we feel life, we feel
Absolutely.
nature. Like tomorrow morning, I'm taking a dip in this ocean. That's like 100%. Like,
Absolutely.
you know, I want to feel that like refreshing new world of water, and hopefully there'll be dolphins I could swim with too.
There was a
That'd be
dolphin
amazing.
here this afternoon.
Yeah,
Just one out here by himself. He just whoop.
that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's that engages a piece of your brain that we don't engage in our modern society. And I imagine it. I mean, I'm sure it's not literally like this, but I imagine it like when your pupils dilate when you're really interested in something, and you're like, and that's what it is when you go and you hit that in that raw nature experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really take it all in. You have to.
Yeah.
Because there's no other focus, there's no other distractions. It's the sounds that are around you, the smells,
Yeah.
the feeling
Yeah.
of the dirt. Actually, that's a good point. So for a time, I was working in data management, mapping in oil and gas in Pittsburgh, and I was working on this problem. And you know, before that, I had jobs like being an electrician and working as a surveyor and just like hands-on stuff. So this couple of years that I was doing this in an office was weird for me. And I was walking to my car thinking about this problem, and you know those little areas in the parking lot where they just leave a little piece of grass and like one tree that was in my way in between me and the car, and I was gonna walk around it because I had my nice shoes and stuff on and I'm dressed in a suit and everything. And I've just decided, no, I'm just going to take the shortest path. So I just walked across it. And as soon as I planted weight onto that foot and I felt the earth shift underneath me, I was like, it was like in that instant, because I had to think about that, because I hadn't walked on like dirt for quite a while.
Yeah.
Like it was an awakening in my brain, and it actually helped me solve my problem. Because I came at the problem at a completely different angle. The problem was I had all of these files that I had to figure out how to resolve the issue on in an extremely short amount of time. And the answer was, lie about it. Just tell them that you did. And it worked. It worked. And then I bought myself time and I finished it later. But it was like, you know, you just keep coming at this problem head on. You're like, no, I just got to find the answer. I got to do it right. And then you realize that the world is not completely round, that things are imperfect, that there's, you got to think differently. You got to behave differently. And that, again, it revives that piece of your brain that we just don't use in modern society.
Yeah, that primal mind, That's what a lot of scientists did too, like even like Albert Einstein too. Like, you know, when he had issues, he would go walk in the forest. He would go for a walk and stay in a lake or something like that and feel nature, feel the rain or something like that. And he'll come back to the lab and be like, oh yes, that's it, that's it. It relaxes us. I think a lot of people are depressed because they don't get that. Like they're always fluorescent lighting, controlled climates, computer screens. And we're just not designed to do that. Like, we're biological creatures. Like, we could do that and evolve the brain, but you gotta not forget about the body. If you neglect the body, it will fall apart. And then you die before you could reach that state of higher consciousness that you're hoping to get with all that information you're consuming through the screen.
A lot of withdrawal from dopamine too. For example, if you're like an insulated room, you're in like a good lighting environment, you're on TikTok all the time. Every time you step away from TikTok, the dopamine goes down, you're having withdrawal. So like kind of stepping away from all of that, you're resetting your brain, because your brain is kind of like a heroin addict where even not even the chemistry, but the physiology of your brain is changing from constant dopamine insertion to your body. So that's very important what you said, like to get in touch with our primal self might actually help the healing process.
Let's kind of go back to our roots, like feel where our ancestors came from, you know. What you were talking about, actually, Huberman has been talking a lot about, you know, Huberman Labs. You heard his stuff, like his, he has a podcast and he talks a lot about this kind of stuff. Like he knows a lot about the endocrine systems and like all of these different dopamines, and he's trying to explain like what is actually happening when your dopamines jump up and this and that happens. He's becoming really famous actually in modern times. I like watching some of his stuff.
Well, guys, you want to call it? You can get some rest.
It's been very educational and wonderful.
Thank you guys for sharing your time with me. You know, one of the things I was telling the girls last night is that it's always a mystery to me who's going to come on the boat. Like, it's chemistry, and I don't even know what the ingredients are. We just throw them into the pool and see what comes out of it. It's
cool, man.
So, thank you very much for contributing an amazing conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. This was awesome.